Yeah, and in America, we don't control, but we do regulate at times of various aspects of business. And for more context of media, Saagar, versus social media reality, you just mentioned the president, and he's going after some of these social media companies for their censorship, or alleged, we'll be fair and call it that, alleged censorship of conservatives. On MSNBC, Dylan Byers dismisses this as a crazy uncle theory. Take a listen.
It's absolutely not a legitimate complaint from the White House. I mean, it's basically, with all due respect to the president and to Dan Scavino, it's basically the equivalent of when your sort of crazy uncle calls and tells you that there's a conspiracy theory against him because his computer isn't working.
Okay, I'm just a little confused here. This is a crazy uncle theory, as he suggests, but then why did Facebook apologize for this when it comes to Dan Scavino? Saagar, I'm a little baffled.
You're exactly right, David. Why is it that Facebook, Twitter, whomever, Instagram is constantly apologizing for the one-time mistake that happens over and over and over and over again, in which a human actively censors somebody who happens to be conservative? In almost every single one of these cases, they say that a mistake has been made in error, but that mistake almost always skews towards conservatives, whether it's a conservative journalist who's tweeting a joke about how somebody should learn to code, whether it's Dan Scavino, who works for the President of the United States, whether it's a conservative figure or the President's son who is actively having his tweets shadow banned and then acknowledged by many of these social media companies. All of the errors seem to only happen to one group of people. So they can call that a conspiracy theory if they would like. And it's quite strange to me to have so many journalists whose job is to get behind the truth just take these massive tech companies completely at their word that things are a mistake and not look at a pattern of obvious bias, or at least a pattern of obvious mistakes, and ask, why are these mistakes happening over and over and over again, rather than dismissing the complaints as baseless?
Yeah, and for the fact is, if there's a lot of smoke, don't you go looking for the fire. Let's just use that analogy there. But in time, maybe the media will come around. You know, just on a broader point of our colleagues in the media, our chosen profession, when you take a look at the new world, the social media world, the technology world, do you think there's a pendulum effect? Will this swing back? And if so, how do we get to that point?
I'm not necessarily sure. I've actually talked about this with the president in the past in some of my interviews. And one of the things that he said, and why he's so committed to the lack of censorship on these social media platforms, is he's warned the left. He said, listen, there could come a time when conservatives are in charge of these platforms. Or if government regulation is put in charge and a conservative administration all of a sudden has the power to regulate the things that are on these platforms, it could absolutely be used to censor the other side. What we want, and I think what everybody wants, is for these platforms to be politically neutral and actually just encourage the free exchange of ideas on their platforms. Could a swing in the other direction happen? Absolutely. And it would be to the detriment for all of us.